everybody. This is the 100th episode. Oh, better let me tell you. With DJ and Ish. Woo!
Have you seen the video of Britney Spears when she broke her foot?
Okay, so I haven't
The pop?
I haven't seen it. I've heard about it, but I haven't even seen it. I haven't heard the pop. Nothing.
If you watch it, make sure you're watching it like on your bed because you're gonna drop your phone. like,
Oh shit! Like it's that bad.
It's that bad.
It's
And
that
it's
bad.
funny because the video it was on her camera phone.
She was like dancing or
She was
something.
dancing in like her studio of her house or something. So the acoustics are terrible, because she's in like in a big room.
Right.
But the pop was so big that it's like clearly like very like audible.
And did she
like,
look like she was in pain? or-
Yeah, she
Oh,
was-
okay, no, because
yeah.
sometimes.
So on that note,
On
it's
that note,
We're
it's only
starting-
fitting
episode 100 of Pero Let Me Tell You
with Britney.
with Britney, what it is right
Bow,
now.
ba, bow,
So-
ba, bow.
Welcome everybody to episode 100.
My
now,
God, it's
as
episode 100.
as we discussed earlier, this is episode 100, and we're very happy it's episode
Yes,
100,
yes.
and we are going to have a 100th episode celebration. Just not yet.
Right. It's
It's going to be like 103, 104.
it's coming, but you know what? But you and I have to acknowledge that this is. Oh yeah, episode 100.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and that's not even. I mean, technically, we're already over 100 because we've done some bonus episodes.
We're technically like episode
like
104.
102,
No, 104.
Yeah.
And then there's the episodes that didn't
Make we couldn't figure out how
like
to
our
make them work.
Christmas
Yeah.
episode this year, which that's a shame because that was a good episode. But
I know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I haven't given up on that one.
I think about like those would be equivalent to like B-sides of like singers that like never see the surface.
it's like
of
the
day.
vault
Yes, the
in
vault.
Paisley Park.
The vault. Paisley Park. But it is our 100th episode, and we've made it this far. But most importantly, thank you everybody for
Yes,
listening.
Thank you guys.
It's really like quite nice. Like we've developed, definitely a following, and it's just it's really nice that there's so many of you that reach out to us either just to say hello or your opinion
engage.
on something that
Yeah.
we said, whether you agree with us or not. But it's funny because it does create, a bit of a community, and, there's already people that I want to say are kind of like our regulars that we've
That's
gotten
true. Like
to know.
like within like a day or two of the new episode, something's coming.
So
and
all of you, thank you. I mean, at the end of the day, we do this because of you guys. Otherwise, it'd just be Tuesday for us. It'd
Yeah.
be a regular day.
Just a
Because
different-
this is what Ish and I would be talking about anyway.
the difference is we have microphones.
We have microphones.
That's it. That's it.
And but really, we've come this far because of everybody that's listened to us, and we put in a lot of hustle and,
Yep.
and a lot of work, especially you.
Well, thank you.
Let's call it for what it is. You are the, I just come and talk, but you are.
You
the,
say that like it's not important.
no,
Without
no,
that, we have no
but-
show.
No, but you are definitely more of the mastermind behind it. Even though I think I talk more in the episodes, but
Right.
you're definitely the mastermind behind it. So everybody thank-ish.
Well, thank you.
So
But without you, we'd have no studio.
we've had no studio.
Listen, two out of our 3 studios belong to you.
Yeah, you. That's true. Oh, I'm the studio.
You're the studio owner.
I have all these studios.
You're such a studio magnate.
I know, right? A mogul.
a mogul.
and
you and Tommy Mottola.
El Tommy.
Tommy.
Did you see the video of
Yes.
Talia getting burned? Even when she gets burned, she's like, oh, like,
que feliz.
because she was it her birthday?
No, it was because she hosted Premios Lo Nuestro.
Uh-huh.
And a local bakery here just sent her a cake. It's a cake. Like every time she's
Right.
in town, they send her a cake. That bakery,
As one does.
As one does. Any of our listeners, feel free to send us cakes whenever you
Yeah,
want.
please,
I'll take it.
please.
But so they just sent her that. They just sent her the cake.
And then it was one of those like sparkler
Right,
candles.
right, yeah,
And and I think she was lighting one by one up. But the point is, and you could clearly see in the video that it burned her forearm.
Yeah.
And she just like keeps on. She's like, da, 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 with a smile, like, I'm Talia. Nothing puts me down, not even my burned forearm. And then after she showed the picture of her forearm clearly like burned.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's okay. It's okay. Put some water.
She should have been a Pepsi spokesperson.
Yeah. For those who think young. So anyway. So again, everybody, thank you so much for coming with us. As I said, we're planning a 100th celebration extravaganza. Just not today.
Yeah, but in the interim, we've got some other stuff you can come and join us at.
Like Miracle on the Mile.
We're going to be there this weekend.
And we're going to be premiering our new shirt, which we're super, super excited about. If you thought we were excited about the Lechon Life shirt.
And the Sereno. Wait till you see this one.
Wait till you see this one.
Wait till you see this one.
I think this one properly embodies all of us in Miami. No matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, it embodies all of us. So we're very much looking forward to showing you guys our latest merch. So
and then we're gonna be at the fair on March 19th.
Yes, we are.
March 19th.
Yes.
You and I may be speaking out of turn, but I think, because they haven't confirmed where we're going to be at the fair, but I think that we are going to be recording a live episode in Arnold Hall.
Oh my God! If we do it where La Viejita was,
oh, that'd be so sad.
I'm convinced her spirit is there.
Of course.
So for those of you like, I don't know. Well, you knew what it was, and a lot of people knew what it was.
Yeah.
So here in Miami,
but it's people of a certain age.
We've talked about the fair a lot. If you've been following us,
yes, and they're a partner of ours this year, which we are super excited about.
Because we've said this time and time again. The county fair in Miami, like
it's
a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
I remember, I've spoken to people from other places. I'm like, the county fair, and they're like, the county fair. I'm like
where they put the pigs and whatever.
Yeah, where they do the 4-H thing.
That's not how we do it up in here.
It
is a charity, and it
does
start
have
off as a 4-H element,
and they still have it.
Yeah, and they give scholarships.
Yes, they do.
I mean,
but the fair,
super about the community.
If you ask anybody that was raised in Miami, what do you think of when you think of March? The fair.
The Doppelooper.
The Doppelooper.
Which nobody ever called the Doppelooper. We all called it the
double
Doppelooper.
The Graviton.
The Graviton.
The
Himalaya.
The Himalaya. La Himalaya.
The discotheque, which turned Debbie Gibson into Tom Petty.
Yes. And then the Polar Express.
Which
is always playing Escapade by Janet Jackson.
It's true.
Right? So the big wheel,
the food,
the elephant ears, the
corn.
The corn.
De todo. And yes, they are a partner of ours, but we'd be talking about this regardless.
Well, no, we've talked about
we've done this in the past before,
episodes,
so it's nothing new.
Everybody that grew up in Miami has like very distinct fond memories of the fair. And again, the county fair here is like a big deal, like a huge deal. It's funny because with our friends, like we have been going as friends, like our group of friends, since 1993.
Wow.
So it'll be 27 years.
Wow.
27 years. Yeah. I'll never forget that in the first time we went to the fair as a group, it was in 8th grade, 1993. Since we were so young then,
right.
Our friend Daisy's mom went.
Melissa's mom went too.
No, well, go with me here.
Okay,
Daisy's mom went. Okay. Ingrid's mom went. And who else?
Marcy's, I'm sure.
No, and Anna's mom went.
Okay.
And I remember that I was calling for Daisy, my friend.
Oh.
And everybody, and I go, Daisy! And they all turned around because I'm like, what a coincidence.
That's true.
That in this group of friends, there are 4 Daisies.
Including friends and parents.
Yes. There's 4 Daisies. I'm like, shit. This is like a bigger coincidence than 2 Mels and the Spice Girls. Like, damn. Like, coño. But yeah, it's like...
It was like a bouquet.
Like... It's such a big deal. And then I remember, like when you get to college, like when I went to FIU, then the fair became a little bit burdened because of parking. Yeah. I'm like,
the damn fair.
I could already not find like parking is especially when I was in FIU already an issue. Like, but I absolutely love the fair, and I have to tell you that. To get a little cheesy, one of like the best parts like of being a parent has been the times I've taken Tristan to the fair and I've taken a picture by the fountain and by certain places that I have a picture on, and it's like shit. This is really something that I was such a big part of my childhood, and it's become
It's tradition.
It's continued to be a part of his because
Yeah.
he loves the fair. Like he absolutely loves the fair. So ¿te acuerdas that when we were kids, the big deal was an ice skating show?
Yes.
Darían hay que dale que vamos a ir a ver el show de hielo.
Yes. They
A mi
still do.
abuela le encantaba el show de hielo.
Oh.
A mí me encantaba el show de hielo y el circo.
I don't remember the circus, but the ice show, yes.
The circus is still there.
No. And so is the ice show.
Yeah, but the ice show now is like inside an actual arena.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Growing up, it was in a tent.
That's true. That's true.
But
Things have changed.
Yeah, but if you grew up in South Florida, you definitely know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Listen.
It is a big deal.
All you gotta say is be there.
The fair.
That's it. Like, people know the minute you go be there, somebody in a crowd's
Well,
gonna
there's
go.
two theme songs. I remember the original one.
Is that the one? The Dade County Youth Fair.
Fun
It
riding
just
in the
keeps-
Midway, everyone. And fun adventures. You'll have great times and great food at the fair. The Dade County Youth Fair. It just keeps on getting better. Da-da-da-da.
Yep. Well, they're no longer called the Youth Fair, actually.
And then it became the fair. Be there. When they rebranded as the fair.
Yes, when they rebranded. But you know what? It was effective.
Yeah.
They haven't changed that jingle in I don't know how many years.
No.
And they don't have to.
And it works.
It's instant.
It works. And it's what I also like about the fair is that I've watched their data. Like, I think in the last couple of years, they've had like the highest rates of attendance. And it's so interesting that in this day and age where there's so many things of like the past that are just are not relevant anymore. From stores to like even movie theaters,
The mall.
the mall.
Yeah.
You know, things that were
Nope.
so
The fair?
relevant. I mean, think about the mall experience growing up.
That's
That
what
was,
you did.
That was such a big deal of
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
childhood. But yet the fair, kids still go to the fair and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
love
yeah.
it. So, you know.
Even big kids like us.
Yeah. Because, you know, to our listeners, like the thing is that, so we all go to the fair like we all go to the fair each year individually, like, you know, whether
Right.
it's with our significant others or our children or whatever.
Or last year when they were my client.
But every year, no matter what other plans we have to go with other people, we always collectively as a group go.
Yeah.
The 9 or 10 of us. We always go, rain or shine.
The
no-
years I was in New York, that was like the things that would make me sad.
yeah,
When I would see you guys posting pictures or sharing
kind of like
pictures.
the years that I was in Michigan. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
I want to go home for the fair, but then I couldn't because it was like 2 weeks before finals.
Right, it's in a weird time where you can't really just take off. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because it's like, well, no, but summers are on the corner, or the
Yeah.
spring break.
Didn't you feel like such a big boy when you were able to ride like the kamikaze and
Hell yeah, the zipper.
the double looper and all that?
The zipper, I still have.
Like I felt it was such a rite of passage.
Of course it was.
It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be upside down. What does that feel like? And then it's like, oh, you blink and it's gone.
Y ahora si me monto en that, just a tidal wave. Me
always
da,
hated the
the
tidal
tidal wave a mí
wave.
me da una náusea.
It's funny because I can be on a roller coaster all day long and I won't get dizzy. Roller coasters have no effect
Right.
on me. I love them. But you put me on that boat,
That
on the
just goes
tidal
back.
wave,
It's like a pendulum, just goes back and
and
forth.
I'm like, oh, just looking at it, it makes me dizzy.
Yeah,
Do you remember? I haven't seen this in a while, but in the back when it would be like Cuba, Puerto Rico.
Oh no, I haven't seen that in a while.
But you remember,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like when it would go up Cuba, and then on the other side Puerto Rico, and then of course, gone but not forgotten was the cakewalk.
Which we have talked about ad nauseum.
Yes.
On this show
The
many a time.
Fair, bring the cakewalk back. I know they probably got rid of it for liability reasons.
Most likely. Also, I mean, I think it's one of those things also where, like, obviously they have to refresh the rides every so often.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, when it's like a big, I think, is it this year's the 80th or
So
next
the
year's the 80th?
cakewalk was.
But they should, for the 80th, I think they should just bring back, like, all of the vintage rides.
The cakewalk was this ride that. Really, the ride was the slide. It was like this huge slide.
Oh, yeah. But I'm getting there.
Right, but to get to the top of the slide, which the slide was maybe, I don't know, 3 stories tall, 4 stories
Yeah,
tall,
más o menos.
you would go on this ramp that was like on a 45-degree angle, and it had like one of those conveyor belts, right? So it used to become a thing because, you know, a lot of women, especially like not only heavier set women, just like kids or whatever would go.
People
and-
who were not balanced, shall we
and
say.
they would fall, and then like people had to pick them up. So it was like tremendo show,
I love
tremendo
it.
show.
The best show ever.
Yeah, and then everybody would like be in the bottom, like laughing at it. But I think now,
Eso
like,
solo was worth the price of admission.
yes, I think now for liability reasons and like the Me Too movement and all that,
Oh,
it's like.
that's true. But didn't you say that one time you saw Gloria Estefan
I saw
standing?
Gloria Estefan. The first time I saw Gloria
Standing
Estefan in
there
person
watching
was
people
standing
fall.
there, and I remember she was wearing like denim shorts and like a denim shirt. Yeah, and this was like probably like late '80s, early '90s. Yeah. At the cakewalk, everybody loved the cakewalk.
Bring it back, fair.
So-
you know what? We'll talk to them. We'll
So
see what we
yes,
can do.
the Dade County Youth Fair, it just keeps
Yep.
on getting better. But you know what the fair has now that didn't have when we were growing up? Like the kick-ass concerts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this year alone. I mean, next week you guys will hear it, but this year alone, Lisa,
And Expose.
Expose. They have a salsa concert with Rey Rui.
Oh yeah?
Yes. I forgot who the other guy is, but I know it's a big name. It's like, okay.
Wait, what did Ray Ruiz sing? No me acostumbro,
No
no me acostumbro. That one.
No sé vivir sin ti.
That's Ray Ruiz.
Yeah, and like I know a couple years back it was TLC, Nelly.
TLC,
like,
I mean, come on.
These are legit. Yeah, like you can't deny that there's actual talent.
Yeah.
being brought
Because
to
I
the
don't
fair.
remember those concerts.
Hello, last year wasn't it Farruko?
Yes.
Farruko was there last
Yeah.
year. I mean, and he was on the cusp of
Yeah.
like his fame.
But I don't remember when we were kids how they would have those concerts.
They had concerts, but they weren't big names. Like one of the years when we were younger, I don't even think when we were kids. I'm talking like teenagers. It was like C Note.
Yeah, no, but that was much later. I'm talking about like when we were children.
No, right. But that's what I'm saying. Like
No, and when we saw C Note, we saw C Note after the fact.
por eso,
Like it
por
wasn't
eso.
C Note like
Riding the wave of Wait Till I Get
like
Home.
1999, 2000,
Right,
2001.
right.
It was like C Note
2003. Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, I didn't realize C Note was still.
Yeah, they were still waiting to get home for that sweet lovin'.
Yeah. So everybody, the fair, be there at the fair.
Yes, and this week we gave away some tickets. So if you got those tickets, if you won, I'm not telling you to use them on March 19th, but I'm not telling you not to use them and come by and see us record a live show.
Actually, I didn't get to the thing of Arnold Hall. So in the fair, if you grew up going to the fair, you know, one of the exhibition halls, like the main exhibition hall is Arnold Hall. And when you enter Arnold Hall, there's like a hallway where before you get to like the main area, that usually they have like vendors there and whatever. And for many, many years growing up,
Oh, yeah,
when
this
you
all
would
started with-
when you would enter the hall, on your left-hand side was this old lady who used to sell like like jelly and preserves
Didn't
and
you
all
also
that.
fudge?
And yeah, fudge stuff like that.
That's like homemade
and she was
goodies.
like an old white lady that used to wear a bonnet.
Yeah.
And she was there
She
for
looked like Mrs. Claus.
years. I mean, 4 years. Like we have pictures of her.
Yeah.
4 years. That little old lady.
A
was
good
there.
20 years.
Yes, because I think we were in high school and she was still there.
Yeah, por
and
eso.
and she like at that time she was old. And when I mean old, I don't mean like 60. I mean like
No, yeah.
90.
Right, like let's say 80.
80 something
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
And it's funny because till this day,
I still expect to see her.
when right now there's like a cotton candy whatever
See,
ice cream
another vendor.
vendor
Yeah.
there, like a kind
Right.
of like a generic one.
Right.
And when I see it, I'm like, oh, the spirit of la viejita.
Yeah, I still expect to see her, and then I
Yeah.
get sad when she's not there.
Yeah. So anyway, bueno, let's talk about for our 100th episode about. We generally don't step back in time in terms of talk about past
Okay. right,
topics,
Kylie.
especially when it's a week before. But as you guys probably know, earlier this week we posted on our Instagram
Oh yes.
something about Bernie Sanders. And our post was actually very benign because I don't like our posts to give too much away of
Right.
the actual content of the show.
Right. It was literally just we talked about this week. That's it.
Yeah, like I think the post said something like, "Oh, Bernie Sanders said these remarks about Cuba and Fidel Castro.
Yeah, yay or nay. Yeah.
Even though he called them out as an authoritative government, was he okay in doing this, or did we
Or not.
or
Right.
not, whatever." I purposely
I'm glad you brought this up because it kind of ties to something that I want to bring up.
hashtagged Bernie Sanders and hashtag like Bernie in 2020
Right, because we know how social media works.
I know how social media works, and I know that his Bernie bros are like, out.
In full force.
Yes.
Yeah. They're like, I mean, well, it's the primaries, and they're.
And I gotta tell you, they did not disappoint.
I didn't expect to. I mean, I knew we'd get some reaction. I didn't think we'd get
got
this much.
so many comments and so many people that again are not our regular followers.
True.
So many people chiming in that I'm like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? I like that you came to our page.
Right. Thank you, and please stay.
Yeah, because all publicity is good publicity.
Exactly.
But it just goes to show how sometimes people are picking a fight because these weren't people that, especially the post wasn't offensive. It was just kind of like, oh, this is what we talked about.
This is what he said.
And this is what we talked about.
This is what we talked about.
without going into detail, our personal stand on what he said.
Right.
But it was just interesting how like so many people were kind of like out for blood.
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah.
On both sides. I think that's that's fair.
What
I will say it's weird because they were out for blood, but nobody was very like
super offensive
or insulting.
Yeah.
I felt obviously they pushed the line, they pushed up against it, but they didn't get nasty.
Well, I think also
Nasty.
for two reasons. We posted something about that.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Keep it civil. Yeah.
Civil. But also I think it's the decorum that we as a specifically
we don't
on Instagram.
Yeah.
We are like we
don't invite that
try
type
to
of
be
bullshit.
controversial.
Yeah.
We don't, even when we talk about things that we don't approve, we're usually very like rational about it.
Right.
Not like
right.
this fucking son of a bitch.
Right. Yeah.
Although Bernie un perro.
As we've said.
But yeah, what was your takeaway from that?
Again, I'm proud of everybody, and I'm proud of our followers, our fans, our listeners, because they engaged, which is great, because I think nowadays we have to engage, right? We can't just always live in our own bubble. But they did so in a very civilized, as Instagram can get way. I will say, and I don't know if it speaks to who I am or my age or how I was raised, that I'm still somewhat shocked when people, no matter, because again, you have your opinion, and I'm not going to change the way you think, and I get that. But when people who, no matter what you come back with as a yes, but they always just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And on some level, I guess you and I are a little bit the same. We don't want to give up and say we're wrong or the perception that we're wrong. But at the same time, it's like it didn't even become that. In some instances, I found that it became like a person would say something, and then someone else or us or whomever would come back and say yes, but, and then now it no longer was about the thing that we rebutted. It was like, oh yeah, but what about? Oh yeah, but what about? And it's like, but okay, fine, but we weren't talking about that. We were, you know what I mean? It's at some point.
Well, there was someone in particular.
At some point, you're just trying to keep it going.
Regarding Cuba, that was like, oh, Cuba's a small island. And I'm like, well, it's the largest island in the Caribbean by far, and it's the eighth largest island nation in the country.
And the response was,
and her response was like, well, it's roughly the same size of Florida. And I'm like,
right, for an island, like, that's huge.
What do you want? Like,
what do you want it to be, a continent?
Like,
because any bigger, it's no longer an island.
Like, I'm not sure where you're going with this here. Like, no matter what answer you give them, they're not satisfied.
Right, they're not satisfied. And again, I don't have an issue. You do you, boo. But if you at least follow the same thread, but it's almost like when you realize that somebody's, I don't want to say proving you wrong, but presenting you with some additional angle, and you can't keep going down that path anymore. Now all of a sudden you pivot, just para seguir jodiendo.
Right. So this is what I got from it,
and. With that said, there was one person in particular who I loved his response. I can't remember his name right now, but I don't know if you read. He also sent us a direct message. Yes. I mean, he was very, very educated, and again, more of that, please.
But this is what I got of it. So, something we've talked about here on the podcast before. Specifically, we're talking about Trump. We say that, people, not necessarily people that voted for Trump, but people that are like hardcore, like MAGA people.
Right.
That it's like, Trump does no wrong. Like, there's nothing you could criticize about Trump. It's like, coño, I loved Obama. I voted for Obama 2 times. But I could name you 20 things that Obama did that I didn't like.
Well, these are people.
Obama's human.
These are people who it's just like, oh, look, Trump, tripped. Oh no, he meant to start skipping.
Right. Nobody's perfect. Like, everybody's gonna make mistakes, or everybody's gonna do things that you don't necessarily agree with.
That's life,
right? And we've said that here, that it's coño, like there's so many Trump people that are like MAGA, 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 and it's like nothing Trump says or does is wrong ever. And it's like, okay, but how? Like, how can that be? But you know what? The same thing applies for these Bernie people, because this is what I got from it. I'm going to assume that prior to Bernie Sanders making these comments about Cuba was probably not in the top of agenda
of most of America,
of most Bernie bros. Right?
True.
It's just not.
It's just not.
So it was interesting to me how all these people now became like these huge advocates for whatever he's saying. Oh, he said that things were okay in Cuba. because if Castro
must be right.
he must be right. So that means that Cuba,
It's a paradise.
Cuba's a paradise, and then the infrastructure and blah blah blah. He must be right. So now I'm going to get on that platform without looking into it, just blindly,
or without having cared before.
or
let's be honest,
or just like blindly.
Right.
Oh, Bernie Sanders said that things weren't that bad in Cuba before.
Must
that
be right. Must be true.
That must be right. So I'm going to fight this even with people that know better, who lived it, who know better, who actually know what's going on. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail. And I'm like, that type of blind following, no matter
I don't care who you are,
who you are and who you stand, that is not.
It's not right.
That's
not
not healthy. Like, that's not good.
It's terrifying.
It is. It is. That's how like dictators and like stuff like that are born.
Yeah.
Because nobody is all of whatever. Nobody is all good. Nobody's all, well. Some people are all bad after something I watched this week, which we're going to get into in a minute.
True. But
but nothing is that extreme. That everything they do is right. Everything. So I'm going to support them on everything. No questions asked. It's like, the vetting process of the person who's going to be the president, or the standards of the person that is the president, I hold
should
higher.
be a little higher than that.
I hold higher. I hold the president to a higher standard. So maybe you fuck up on something and I'll be like, whatever. But if the president messed up on it, it's like, you're the president of the United States. Like, what the hell?
Right.
So I just found it interesting that these people came out to fight about Cuba, which prior to him saying that, they probably couldn't find Cuba on a map. They had no idea, the specifics about Cuba in terms of, policy and all that stuff. But boy, they were going to fight the fight because he said something about Cuba. It's like, please. It's like, please, por favor.
No, vaya. No, I can't. But the plus side, we got a lot of engagement, and I'm sure it popped up on a lot of people's feeds.
Yeah. So
there's
it's funny. So, on Super Tuesday, Biden did very well.
Okay.
Yeah, he did very well. And it's funny because I was talking to my parents, and my parents, I've made no secret here, voted for Trump. And I was telling
our
them,
listeners know more about your parents than some of your family members know about your parents.
That's true, right? That's like my little nugget of joy. And I was telling my parents that if Florida wouldn't have a closed primary, I would have grabbed them by the arm
and
taken them to vote for Biden, even if they voted for Trump.
Whoever they vote for later, fine,
November.
whatever. Right.
And my parents were like, yeah, we would have done it. We would have totally voted if we could, because they're registered Republicans. We would have totally voted for Biden in the primary if we could have. Para que el perro comunista no gane. Although I think el perro comunista is not going to win Florida because...
You think? You think? Maybe?
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring all this up, because I do have something that I want to bring up, which is related to this whole, like, I'm going to take a stance on things and what have you. But first, we're going to take a break. Go to our sponsors. And then when we come back, I'm going to talk to you about woke culture.
Oh, Dios mío. Here we go.
Kiddie rides, fun slides, corn dogs, baby hogs. Come on in and don't delay. $5 admission on opening day. The Youth Fair opens March 12th. Get ready for heart-pounding rides, mouth-watering food, shows, and free parking. Get your discount tickets today and save at Sedano's or at fairexpo.com. And if you're 5 and under, admission is free. The Youth Fair on the fairgrounds at Coral Way and 112th Avenue. $5 opening day on March 12th. Visit fairexpo.com.
Caballero, it's time for Carnaval Miami. The party starts with Carnaval on the Mile, March 7th and 8th, when the heart of Coral Gables becomes a free street fair with food, art, and live music from R&B, Latin jazz, and for the first time, country music. Not to mention Fork and Cork, where you can sample some of the best foods in Miami for just $75 per session. Then Sunday, March 15th, it's Carnaval's crown jewel, the Calle Ocho Music Festival, full of food, music, and drinks, with performances including this year's Kings of Carnaval, Mau y Ricky. And if you love the festival, pero, you want to skip the molote de gente, there's a VIP passport option for purchase with access to lounges and backstage parties throughout the party route. So for more information, visit carnavalmiami.com, and don't forget, your boys from Pero Let Me Tell You are going to be at Carnaval on the Mile, so stop by and see us. It's time to pachanga, mi gente.
we're back. Who would have told us 100 episodes ago that we were going to have a sponsor?
More than one.
Yeah, more than one.
More than one. We're like on our third now.
Yeah. Let's not forget our first, Au Chocolat.
That's true. See, they should have sent us brownies. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, right?
I'm just saying.
I know the owner. I mean,
you do know the owner. It should have been, you should have hooked it up.
So anyway, okay, woke culture.
So woke culture. We've talked about woke culture a lot, and I bring it up actually because a couple weeks ago I was actually at work. I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and a coworker of ours, a friend of hers. My friend is like, "Oh, you should listen to his podcast. It's Better Let Me Tell You," and blah 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 blah. And she's like, "Oh, what's it about?" So I give the elevator pitch. And one of the first things that she asked me afterwards was, "Well, but are you guys like woke?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, are you guys all about like, this cause and that cause?" And I told her, I don't necessarily know that we're woke, but we're as woke as we should be. And what I mean by that is, and I spoke on your behalf, so
I've
feel
always
free.
been woke, even before woke was a thing.
But here's the thing. I don't think we are quote-unquote woke. I think we are just considerate human beings that recognize people should be respected and treated equally. I don't think that makes us woke. I think that just makes us
rational.
Makes us rational, decent people.
Intelligent.
That makes us rational,
Yeah.
logical, decent people. And I think that the problem is when you many times claim to be woke, it becomes a game of extremes.
Of course.
Because now you're just like, I'm woke, I'm woke, I'm woke. Oh, how dare you? Oh, like your whole life becomes a fight. And it's like you don't have to be woke to be decent. And so I don't know.
Well, let me give you an example.
I don't know how you feel about that because
I feel with it 100%.
I had never been, but I think because we're a Hispanic podcast and it had never been posed to us before.
And that specifically happens within the liberal side of things. And I say this time and time again on the show,
as a card-carrying, flag-waving liberal.
I've been a liberal since I could remember. I was like, I don't think like everybody else in my family. I don't see things the same way.
No, it's true. I mean, you knew Angela was the boss.
Yeah.
That's how liberal you've always been.
I always have been. Always. The conservative mindset, and I'm not saying this in terms of a criticism, I'm saying just in terms of an agenda. The conservative agenda has never been something that has really resonated
At least socially.
in me. Especially socially, ever resonated in me. I mean, that's not to say that I would totally throw out the platform. I mean, there's things on each side that are good, but as long as I can remember, I've been extremely liberal. And I have a really big problem when somebody calls into question my liberal stance on things because I don't think exactly like them. And I'm going to give you an example. And this is something, your timing actually is very good because I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day and I was actually about to be accused of being closed-minded. Which,
you?
Yes. Which, again, I'm like...
You?
Me. Because...
I mean,
it's on a very...
You can accuse me of being closed-minded,
it's on a very
but not you.
controversial subject. Okay. Right? Abortion. A woman's right to choose.
Okay.
Florida recently passed a law requiring... And this is not so much to talk about
abortion.
The law.
Right.
Florida recently passed a law that states that... And it's one of a handful of
a minor has to get...
That a minor has to get...
parental consent
to get
an
abortion. Now, again, I know abortion is a very controversial subject.
So let's dig in, shall we?
I'm pro-choice, but I certainly understand the pro-life argument. Right? And I feel that it's something that doesn't have a right or wrong answer because even if you're pro-choice like I am, I think a woman getting an abortion is a traumatizing event. It's not like there's winners and losers in this situation. It's just an awful situation. But I've always been very, very clear on where I stand on that. And I'm 100% in terms of the choice of the woman. As I tell people, I'm like, I don't see it as a moral issue. I see it as a legal issue. And that's the way that I've always seen it. But to this comment, to this conversation I was having with a couple of people, this topic, I said something along the lines, I'm like, well, that's not that clear cut because, you have to get parental consent for so many things.
That's where I fall on this.
For so many things, including healthcare.
That's where I fall on this.
Including healthcare.
A 13-year-old can't show up at an ER and her parents won't be notified.
But what I'm saying is that, and again, I don't bring this up to,
belabor
discuss
that. Right.
the topic. But what I was saying was that that is something that is certainly at least the minimum up for conversation, because it's not
There's a lot of gray.
There's a lot of gray, you know,
Right.
because now you're talking about legalities.
A minor can
you know,
enter into a contract.
A minor can enter into a contract.
So
what
what is
about
it?
if there's
Right.
some type of medical
malpractice.
malpractice?
Yeah, right.
A minor can't sue. You know,
Right.
it has to sue on behalf of the guardians. Like, there's a whole plethora of things.
Right.
And I believe that you could be pro-choice and still maybe think like, well, maybe whatever.
This is a-
right. I got accused of like, oh, well, a woman's right to choose, and a woman should never be told by the government. I'm like, oh, calm down. Don't give me your soapbox speech, because I've been giving that soapbox speech for years.
Right, I know
And
it
I'm
better
like,
than you
I
do,
even
right.
freaking went to the woman's right to march.
Right,
Like,
right,
I
right.
marched.
So don't
in
come
the
for
woman's
me.
right to
You've-
march.
you've got your pink
in
hat.
in the women's
women's march.
The women's march a few years back. So don't. But that's an example
Right.
of a situation where I'm extremely open-minded on, and the moment that I just say something that is
Right.
not exactly to what they think it is, they accuse you of being closed-minded, and and how dare you? And it's like,
You might as well be a Nazi.
yeah, it's like, simmer down, simmer down, because
so funny.
the only way you get things done is by discourse. That's the only way. It's the old-fashioned way, but it's because otherwise it becomes a shouting match.
There's a reason it's been working for millennia.
Yeah,
I feel millennia. Is that a good?
yeah, I would say so.
Say-
The Greeks, the Romans, and the Greeks did it.
Plato,
Yeah,
Aristotle, philosophy.
yeah,
I mean, sure, they invented math. Nobody's perfect.
yeah. That's like, for
math.
example, and we've talked about this before on the show. Of course.
I don't know what's coming, but you got really excited.
For obvious reasons, I am open to the LGBTQ plus ABCDDDD ABC,
Elemental P.
issues.
Greek alphabet,
Of
right,
course,
right,
I am.
right.
I could not be, right? Right? Of course I am. But even and you have said it as well. We're like, this whole thing of adding letters, like,
I mean, remember when it was just LGBT plus?
of adding letters, it's like, okay, so where does this stop?
Right.
Like, it's not even. I'm very inclusive of everybody. I think everybody should be,
Right.
happy,
Again,
respected,
and
respected,
and
you know,
heard
But,
and-
but like, okay, so.
At
so
what point
what
do
are
we just?
What are we exactly doing here? Oh no, we'll get we will be called homophobic. Like
Verdad.
yeah. Homophobic son of a bitch. And it's like,
Verdad.
okay, that reminds me of this episode of Shameless where I forget the character's name, the redhead.
The kid who played the Joker on Gotham.
The redhead.
Yes,
That
yes, him.
he he's gay in the show, and his boyfriend is a trans guy.
Okay.
And he had his moments where he needed to, because at first he didn't know he was trans, but he eventually came around and they had a relationship. And when he started meeting like other people,
In the
from
trans community?
his circle, and they started using the words like non-binary and gender fluid and this and that, he was like, oh my God, I don't know what all these terms mean.
Right.
And they looked at him like, and it's like, I'm open to who you are.
But you have to educate me.
But you have to educate me. Don't be mad that I don't know every single term.
And you also can't jump down my throat if I get it wrong at first. Because
Right.
as we say, it's about context. You can tell if I'm having a conversation with somebody who is female presenting, male presenting, or whatever, and I just use those pronouns, you can tell when I'm saying it because it's a slip of the tongue, as opposed to if you told me I identify as they and I keep, right, but he, but him, but he. And it's like, you've clearly already corrected me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's about context. It's
Right.
about intent, which
Yeah.
is something that we lose sight of so much.
Yeah, again, it's a day of it's extremes. It's extremes,
You know what I personally hate? I hate when people, and I'm gonna sound like a total asshole right now, but oh well, it's my show. When people say like, you shouldn't be fighting amongst, other Latinos or other gays or, and when we put each other, it's like, you know what? I get where you're coming from and I can appreciate it on a grander scale. But you know what? Just because you and I share a language, just because you and I share a sexual preference, doesn't mean I have to like you. And it doesn't mean that I'm gonna like you.
So take that, homeboy.
Okay. Sometimes, you know what? I hate you in spite of the fact that you're a gay Hispanic.
Yeah.
Those are your redeeming qualities.
Actually, you know what? that brings in to Gentefied.
Yes.
So we're gonna have a full circle moment here.
Yes.
So as you guys know, last week we interviewed our friend Carlito.
Carlito, yeah,
It's
Carlito. Of course it's Carlos.
Of course it's Carlos. Carlos Santos from Spanish Aquí presents
First and foremost.
but from Gentefied. And when we interviewed Carlos, we had only seen one episode of Gentefied. It wasn't our fault.
It had been 48 hours.
It had been 48 hours since it had dropped.
Literally 48 hours.
And we had a lot going on.
It dropped on a Friday. We both have full-time jobs on Fridays. It's right.
So we had seen one episode, but since then we've seen the whole show, and I have to say that there's certain things about the show that were like so well done, and I really, really now from the point of view of the person who saw all of it, I really urge our listeners to take a look at it. Not only will you be supporting, Hispanic and Latino content on Netflix, but it really, really is worth a watch. So one of the parts that I loved, and I feel that this is something that it goes with what you were saying, but this is something that a lot of people struggle with because nobody is one-dimensional. Nobody is one of something. People are multi-layered, you know? So one of the characters, the character of Anna. So Anna is, she's in a relationship with a girl. Mm-hmm. So she identifies now the term du jour. Queer. And she's a queer Latinx.
Yes.
But, that's what she wants to identify herself at. She wants to use those words.
More power to her.
We're no one to say that she shouldn't do that. As we discussed in our last episode as well. And so she, she's very big on who she is, and her girlfriend in the show is very much an activist and very much woke. So very much the person that you...
They're queer, they're here, acostúmbrate.
No, but she's also against gentrification and la raza and all that stuff. So it's like, she's pretty hardcore. So she, Anna is like this struggling, like she's an artist. Like she really wants to get her art out there. And there's this guy who in their barrio who is buying buildings. Right. And that's causing the gentrification of their neighborhood. And he is gay. Mm-hmm. So he approaches her with that, we're queer and solidarity, and I'm hiring you, because you're my queer Latinx sister. Even though the guy's like totally like white guy Anglo. And he commissions her work to a building, this huge mural. Okay. And the piece at the end, and he pays her a lot of money. The piece at the end is two wrestlers, lucha libre with the mask, making out, two men.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, a lot of people have a lot of problems with this.
With the masks.
A lot of people have a problem with this because that building houses a little store of una señora that she's been in that store for years, years and years and years. Right. She's kept it. She's like the community store. Everybody comes there, and
she's a cornerstone.
She's losing business because of this.
Because of the mural.
So she had to make a decision. Do I go with him because, he's gay, he's queer.
Right. Which side do I fall on?
Or do I go along the lines of like mi gente, like who she is? And that's a dilemma for her. Right. And I thought that was actually one of my favorite parts of the show because I feel that that's a very real dilemma. Not necessarily in the landscape of Latino and gay, but whatever.
But pick any of them,
positions, maybe. Yeah. That's something that's like very like wow, because like she's all about showing the world that she's gay and she's queer and
she's out and proud,
out and proud, and yes, but then she also realizes that mural is causing a whole slew of people a lot of problems, and it's kind of like. So is this how we make progress? Do we make progress at
the expense of others?
Yes, exactly. Like, is this progress? And
at what point are you comfortable with that expense?
Right. Like, is it? Like, it's really a question. Like, it's not so much a statement. It really is like a question.
You know what the sad part is, and I'm going to speak for myself. I think a lot of times the progress at the expense of others is quote unquote okay. Mientras que no te pisen el gallo.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's at the expense of somebody, but that's not part of my community.
Right, because there's a part of me that it's like, you know what? put your artwork of the two
Yeah.
men kissing, and people have to get over it because that is where we are as in a society. So you know what? If you don't like it,
Deal with
either
it.
don't drive with her, deal with it.
Right.
But then I see the part of like, okay, but now
This poor woman
can't live, and her clothes, it's a big deal. So I see like that juxtaposition, that internal conflict of it, and I actually thought it was one of the best parts of the show. It was definitely one of the parts that I liked the best. That struggle that she had, which is a continuing issue in the show, but I really enjoyed it because I thought it was very realistic. But that's why you're not one of you're many things. You're not one thing, and that's like, without going too much in that conversation, we were talking about before about labels. This label obsessed society that we live in now. That it's like you're either this or you're this or that, but you have to be in a box, and it's like, fuck the box. Unless we're talking
about the box. Right.
Televisión musical que tú controlas. And as we just, we're harping a lot on last week.
Well, it's 100 episodes. We're calling back. We're reminiscing. If this was an 80s sitcom, there would be a lot of like, remember that thing, and then the little music, and we have a flashback.
We'd be in a table probably with cheesecake.
Right.
No, the Golden Girls.
No, flan.
Or flan. Well,
flan, because it's us. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So if you haven't watched Gentefied, I mean, really, I kid you not, it's a great show, and it has a lot of heart to it, which is interesting because a lot of times comedies don't necessarily have a lot of heart, but there's a nice mixture of things here. There's certainly a lot of drama, and there's a lot of comedy.
Just a little bit drama.
There's a lot of heart. So and we couldn't be prouder of Carlitos.
That's true. And Tony, too. He's in an episode.
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, my God, Tony.
Tony's the bank?
Tony is the banker. He's not fun. I'm sorry, Tony Rodriguez. I love you, but it was funny to see him in that role.
Right?
I'm like,
it's so buttoned down.
That's so not you.
It's like, we've met you.
We know you.
We've hung out with you.
And you're like this, like, totally by the book, like.
It just proves his talent.
Yeah.
His ability to be an actor.
Oh, and Jenny's in it. Jenny Lorenzo's in it.
That's right. Yeah, she's a reportera, no?
She plays a reporter, so she's in it.
And actually, esta muchacha who plays the girlfriend, Julissa, I think it's Julissa. She's from Miami.
Oh, yeah?
She's Dominicana from Miami.
But she's from, not Me Too. Was it Me Too?
Like Me Too or Pero Like.
Pero Like. She's from Pero Like.
Yeah.
So it's like I knew, she looked familiar. So anyway, bueno, I actually wanted to mention something that is not a fun topic.
The Heifer Corporation?
No, the Heifer Corporation.
See, this time I did it. See? 100 episodes for me to get there.
But I feel that sometimes, even when something is very negative and awful, you kind of bring light to it because a lot of times people, they don't really know the reality of things.
Okay.
So there's a documentary on Netflix called The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. And I really urge everybody to watch it.
I still haven't seen it. I can't bring myself to see it.
It is very hard to watch. It's extremely hard to watch. It's not that my eyes got watery. I wept in the first episode and in the sixth episode.
It's 6 episodes, right?
Yes, it's 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic on the show, and this is generally not something we would talk about because it is very much a Debbie Downer. But again, it's awareness. So Gabriel was this little kid who was 8 years old at the time that he died, and he was never really wanted by his mom, and he was raised by his uncle. The last 8 years of his, the last 8 months of his life, he was with his girlfriend. With his mother and her boyfriend, and they abused him to the point that they killed him.
That boy didn't die. He was murdered.
He was murdered. Yeah, he was tortured.
Yes,
he was tortured. Just to say that this happened in L.A. And L.A. LA is a very big city.
Right. It's not right.
From the nurses and the doctors and the staff in the hospital that treated him, to the sergeants to the prosecutors to the forensic experts to everybody involved in this case. They were all traumatized at the amount of abuse this boy had in his body. Like, this boy had endured.
Right.
And the way his body was. Like, again, this is in LA. That's like if it would have happened here. Like, people here,
Right.
you know,
It's not a third world
all types
country
of things
or-
happen in Miami. You know,
Right,
like cops here in Miami or people in forensics have seen it all.
Right.
And for all these people to be so moved. So he was tortured for 8 months. He was strangled. He was burned. They used him as a BB gun target. The skin in his fingers were removed. He slept in like a little cupboard where they locked him. They weren't feeding him. They were feeding him kitty litter.
Right.
And this was at the hand of his mom and his mom's boyfriend. But the bigger picture and the reason why I brought this up was because what caused so much attention to this case was, aside from the actual details of the murder or of the killing or the torture, was that there was so many social workers involved. The teacher had reported the abuse repeatedly. Neighbors had seen it. Again, social workers.
This was not a
had
secret.
This was not a secret. And despite there being so many reports and so many people that knew about this, it was like one red flag after another, after another, after another, after another.
This
He
still
fell
happened.
through the cracks and fell through the cracks, and the system completely failed him.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, I've talked about here on the show how I'm a guardian ad litem, and
Which,
you know,
I always tell you, like, the fact that you do that is, I mean, we could say, oh, it's commendable, it's so great, and blah blah, but like, words escape me for just how much praise you deserve, and you won't give yourself this praise, so that's why I'm going to give it to you.
Thank you.
Because you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
right, and that's the attitude I had coming in. It's like, you know, people talk all sorts of crap about DCF, and there's certainly things to be talked about. But what people have to remember is that DCF is state funded. No, not only in Florida, everywhere it's state funded. So people that work in DCF have 200 cases, and it's not because they want to; it's because that's the workload that they have. So that's what they're given. You know, so it's very hard to maintain something.
You do your best.
You do your best, and sometimes your best is not enough.
Yeah.
And you know, and in many jobs, when your best is not enough, you lose a client. You get fired, whatever.
The shipment was delayed.
You know, but here you're talking about
a kid
little
could
children's
die.
life. A kid could die, and it's just a really, really unfortunate situation. So I asked people to watch it so you could have an understanding of the system and how broken the system is and why these agencies need funding and they need to be
Do
properly
not cut the support to these.
do
please.
not, because then this is what happens. This is what happens.
Pero bueno.
You know, there's a part of me that was angry at the social workers, but then there's a part of me that I've seen this firsthand.
Pero
And
la pobre muchachita a couple years ago down here, was it Nuria?
the one that lived on my parents' house,
yeah, on 48th Street. Like, I mean, la pobrecita that they found her. What was it? Wasn't she like tossed out of a moving van in a bag?
yeah, something like that. But that's why I always tell people it's very easy to blame DCF and the social workers. You should have known all that.
There's blame to go around.
And
Fine.
there's certainly an argument to
Fine.
be made. But what people have to understand is that again, these are places that have like no funding. Like
And these people are already maxed
overworked
out.
and maxed out, especially in a big cosmopolitan area,
Right,
like LA or Miami.
If you're in a small city where, you know, you've got a population of 300 people or whatever, that's one thing.
So yeah, I asked people to watch it. It's a very hard watch. I'm not gonna beat around the bush about that. It's a very hard watch, but you know, sometimes you have to really see these things to understand them. So
Yeah.
that's my Debbie Downer moment of the day.
That is your Debbie Downer. Wow, that is a Debbie Downer. So I want to switch it up because we can't get any more Debbie Downer than that. So I don't know if you heard about this, but I heard about this. I don't know, this report, and actually the first person that I thought about was you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, years ago, and to know this, growing up, the high school that we went to actually had a lot of programs for kids with various, you know, quote unquote disabilities, or I don't know what the term is nowadays, guys. So apologies if disabilities is the wrong term. And so there were a lot of deaf kids in our school.
Yes.
And I remember you. This was actually probably not even when we were in school, but you did mention at one point something to the effect of, wondering, how do deaf people, when they think, how do they hear the thought? Because you and I, when we think, obviously we know what our voice sounds like, especially, if you've always been deaf, you've probably never spoken. And so how do you know what your voice, your inner monologue sounds like?
What does your inner voice sound like?
Well, yeah, what does your inner voice sound like, right? And I always thought, coño, verdad? Like that's such an interesting thing that I never thought about. And you're right. And what does it sound like? And blah blah blah. So there's actually an article that it says, and I'm just gonna read the part. Like I'm gonna pull some stuff out of it. So, fun fact: some people have an internal narrative, and some don't. As in, some people's thoughts are like sentences they hear, like you and I. And some people, regardless of whether they are hearing impaired or whatever, some people just have abstract, non-verbal thoughts and have to consciously verbalize them. And most people aren't aware of the other type of person.
Wow. I thought everybody spoke in their mind.
Yeah. So this article says, literally the first person I asked was a classmate of mine who said that she cannot, quote unquote, hear her voice in her mind. I asked her if she could have a conversation with herself in her head, and she looked at me funny like I was the weird one in the situation. So I began to be more intrigued. Most people I asked said that they have this internal monologue that is running rampant
Can we
throughout
start
the day.
asking our family and friends about this?
We should. So this person posted a poll on Instagram to get a more accurate representation, assessment. At the time of this posting, this article, currently 91 people said they do have an internal monologue, and 18 people reported that they do not have this. So he would tell them that he could look at himself in the mirror and have a full-blown telepathic conversation with himself without opening his mouth, and they responded as if I had schizophrenia. One person even mentioned that when they do voiceovers in movies of people's thoughts, they wished that it was real. And to their surprise, they did not know that the majority of people do in fact experience that echoey voice in their head that is portrayed in TV and film. Another person said that if they tried to have a conversation with themselves in the mirror, they would have to speak out loud because they can't physically do it inside their mind.
Do you know how many times I've recited my Academy Award winning speech?
Yeah, I recite the audience interaction part of my world tour.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Or my launch of my book. I've had full-fledged conversations with people that aren't there.
Yeah. Yes, I've conducted interviews in my head.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah. But there are people who physically don't understand that, and
that is shocking.
And they never stop to think that.
I wonder who we know that's like that.
We need to start asking people.
And did it say the percentage again?
I mean, it was an informal poll. Clearly, it was on Instagram at the time of this. 91 people had responded that they had an internal monologue, and 18 said they didn't. Okay, so I mean, it's about, but 18. That's 20%. Mm-hmm. Out of 100 people, that's 20%. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a large-ish number. Then he has a whole bunch of other things. He's like, how do they think? How does this affect their relationships, jobs, experience, education? And how do you not, quote unquote, hear your voice? And that is fascinating to me.
Yeah. It really is. You blew my mind because I hear my voice.
You hadn't seen this at all.
I sometimes have to tell myself to shut
up. Yeah. Yeah. It's shut up. To me, one of those sensory deprivation tanks.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that wouldn't work on me. That wouldn't work on me. Yo saldría más loco que cuando entré.
Yeah. Oh shit! You know what really scares me? Horrifies me.
God.
So I've told you this before. This is really weird. One of the things that petrifies me, and and you know that I'm not afraid of a lot of things. Hence, I entered the Terror on Church Street first.
You were more selected by all of us.
I was,
and by selected I mean you were pushed to the front of the line,
right.
And there were 6 people behind you who were not letting you move.
Right, but I did it.
Yes, you did.
I'm generally not afraid of things.
You went skydiving,
for better or for worse. Something that horrifies me is total and complete silence.
Yeah, I know.
It drives me insane.
I know. That's why you always have something in the background.
I don't consider myself an anxious person. I mean, I have moments of anxiety like anybody else. But that anxiety that you feel that's overtaking your body that people suffer from.
And it's not that you don't like being alone. You just don't like being silent.
I don't like being silent.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it really works a number on me. So then, you know, there's like silent rooms across the world, and there's one I think in the Smithsonian that the room is so quiet, you know, obviously because they set it up
Right,
in terms
the
of the
acoustics
and all that,
right.
that you can hear like your heart beating, like the blood going through your.
That's kind of
the
weird.
blood going through your
That's
heart,
a little much.
and you could hear all the creaks in your bones. I'm like, yeah, I would come out of there with a straight jacket, like.
No, that's too much for me. That's too much for me, and I don't mind. You've told me many times where like you'll come to my house and I'm just sitting there like on the couch reading a book, like
And total silence.
total
I'm
silence.
like, can you
And
turn
just-
on the TV?
You're like, I need something. I need some background noise. I need something. I'm like, but why?
That's like I can't sleep in total silence. I can't. I need a white. Oh, that happens to a lot of people. That's not me. But total silence freaks me out. Like I will run further from total silence and from
Than
freaking
Freddy Krueger.
Michael Myers.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like,
yeah,
like, oh my god.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That-
See, sometimes when I get to my parents' house, and this is something that old people do, and my parents are not there, and it's only my grandmother, and my grandmother está sentada en el sillón de ella con el televisor apagado and nothing going on, and
She's
I'm
just
like,
sitting there.
yes, and I'm like, Mima.
Okay, no, that's like it's one thing to be sitting there in silence, but like reading a book
or
haciendo
something
un
doing Sudoku or whatever.
Okay,
but
well,
there's
okay.
nothing on, and then of course the air
I
is
guess
off.
Sudoku requires a lot of concentration.
And oh, my grandmother, a 93, is like she'll
Sharp
kick your
as
ass
a
in
tack,
Sudoku.
I'm sure.
But there's like no sound because she turns off the air. So there's like
air.
my grandmother. When I have the air on 75, she's like, me estoy congelando. But that's an old people thing.
Well,
That's
okay, eso sí.
But I'm like, I come in and I'm like, I can't take this. Like, yo empiezo a poner el televisor, turn on the air, whatever. I'm like, I can't take it. Like, it drives me insane. Total silence.
I don't have that issue.
No, clearly.
I do not have that issue.
Clearly. So, before we wrap it up,
Yep.
I actually want to talk about one last thing because this is one of these things that I had always noticed.
Okay.
But I think a lot of people had not noticed this. I had always noticed because I'm me. I
Okay.
noticed these things since I was a kid.
Okay.
And I would ask this all the times as a kid. So,
Lord.
this week I still call it MGM Studios, but in Hollywood Studios,
Yes.
for all intents and purposes,
Yes. So people will know what we're talking
I
about.
call it MGM Studios and I still call it Joe Robbie Stadium.
And I did that the other day.
Yeah. And every now
work.
and then, I still call it Burdines.
Oh yeah.
Every now and then, Burdine slips.
No.
So, anyway. So, in Hollywood Studios,
Yes.
where in the Chinese theater, where
Hollywood Grauman's,
the
The great movie ride used to be.
great movie ride, the great movie ride used to be, they opened up an attraction
Oh, did it already open?
called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yes, it looks so cute.
Okay, it is the first, and I had always thought about this.
Go.
Attraction in any Disney park to feature Minnie and Mickey.
I had not realized that until I read the article.
I had always realized that.
I had never realized
I
that
had
until I
always
read the
realized
article.
it.
And I was like, when I first read it, I was like, wait a minute. You do one of those things where you're like, wait, and you kind of do a quick mental check of everything, and you're like, holy shit.
The only other thing that you could say kind of features Mickey Mouse,
Toontown.
no,
Porque
no,
tenía la
no. In
casa de
terms of an
Mickey.
attraction, is the
PhilharMagic.
yes, because I love that ride.
It is about Mickey's conducting it.
Right.
Yes.
So you could kind of say that it does, but
I mean,
that's not really an attraction.
I would have said the Mickey House.
Right, but the Mickey House is not a ride.
No, but it's an attraction.
Right, but the
PhilharMagic.
it's not a ride. It's like a movie. But this
Right.
is the first ride to feature Mickey and Minnie. And I had always noticed that. I'm like, why are we going to like all these parks that are all based on Mickey and Mickey
Not a
is
one.
nowhere to be found?
Not a one.
Yep. Isn't that something that like right? Like
You know what though? But that kind of feeds into something that I love Mickey. Please, guys, calm down. I love Mickey, and I love the paraphernalia, and he's cute and whatever. But if you really stop and think about it, like, is anybody's favorite character based on personality really Mickey Mouse?
My favorite character is Wizard Mickey.
Okay, but based on personality or based on visual? Because when people love Bugs Bunny, which is like the closest like comparison I think that you can make between the head of another thing.
Yeah, Bugs is all personality.
Bugs is all personality. Like Bugs is funny. Bugs is whatever.
I would
but
certainly say that Mickey's not
cute.
about personality.
He's cute.
But my favorite character is the Wizard Mickey. That's always been my favorite character. And you know what my second favorite character is?
Steamboat Willie.
Nope. You know my second favorite
Okay,
Disney
wait,
character?
wait.
Like, especially theme park character.
Wait, I get 2 more guesses. Give me 3 guesses. Okay, so
He's nobody's favorite character.
I said Steamboat and it wasn't it. Okay, he's nobody's favorite character.
No, I've never met anybody who likes him. But I do, and I even have a little statue of him.
And it's a Disney character.
He is all Disney.
Stitch?
I love Stitch, but no,
But
I
it's
wouldn't
not
consider Stitch a theme park character.
A theme park character.
Yes.
Okay, Figment.
Figment. I
Okay.
love Figment. Like, you don't understand. And there's people out there now that are like, who's Figment? You don't understand how much I love
but
Figment.
he's so cute.
He's adorable.
I used to have a bank of him growing up.
He's
and I think I
nobody
love
cares
Peluche.
about Figment.
Did they get rid of his ride?
No.
Oh, mira. Cuando hiciste eso, I was at Epcot not that long ago, and I'm
No.
like,
And
"Do
I
they
always
have
go
it?"
on it. I always go on it.
Aw.
They've updated it.
Okay. Maybe it was under renovation.
Yeah. I love Figment, and nobody cares about Figment.
Oh,
So for those of you who don't know, Figment is there's a ride which they changed the name to. It's like to Figment's no sé qué journey.
Yeah. It was,
But there's
it
a
used to be the
ride
Imagineering thing?
in Epcot Center that the whole point of the ride is about using your imagination.
Right.
So it's a figment of your imagination, and the like mascot or character, if you will, is this cute little dragon
He's a
called
little purple
Figment.
dragon.
And yeah, he's like a pink yet purple,
Definitely warm colors.
right? And orange. And I freaking love Figment, and nobody cares about Figment.
No, I don't.
Actually, I would say that my 3 favorite Disney characters are Wizard Mickey, Figment, and Stitch. Stitch is my
Like your most popular.
no, Stitch is my not soul animal, your
Spirit animal.
My spirit animal. Stitch is my spirit animal. Experiment 626.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's so
But
cute.
can you believe that? No Mickey and Minnie.
I can't. But then when you stop and think about it, it's like, coño, pero verdad.
With that said, I would like to tell Disney World. So Disney, listen to what I'm about to say.
Okay, listen up, Disney.
It
Imagineers,
is
everybody.
time for you to update the Carousel of Progress.
Oh, yeah.
The Carousel of Progress
It's like a
is
good 20 years old.
Is stuck in stereotypical early 90s. Like stereotypical.
So it's like 30
early
years
90s.
almost already.
Yes. Like it's 1993 up in there. But like 1993, like stereotype 1993. Oh, look at this virtual reality we have. Oh no. Because who was doing virtual reality in 93?
Right.
Really?
It's a Game Boy. What
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah.
It's,
Look at this microwave.
They have an answering machine.
that blew up, and it's like, okay, at this point in time, the modern current day like part of it is actually
beyond
vintage.
dated.
It's like vintage.
It might as well be the 70s.
Well, they don't even have the 70s. They should be now part of like, because they take a trip
Right,
through
right,
time.
that's what I'm saying.
So this should be now its own separate time, and then we move on to modern time,
Right.
right?
Oy.
And yes, ladies and
Our
gentlemen,
childhood should be its own
I
time.
am one of these people. I'm one of these people that every time I go to the Magic Kingdom, which is a lot, although I haven't been in a couple of years, I love the Carousel of Progress. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what you and your car is saying that, oh, that ride sucks. I love me the Carousel of Progress.
I will say I don't care for the Carousel of Progress,
suck.
but I appreciate the Carousel of Progress porque después de estar dando pata el día entero en el parque,
To go into that nice air
conditioned
dark,
and it rotates, so you don't even have to move.
del aire.
Te da el aire. It's a good 20 minutes.
Yes.
You put your feet up because there's never anybody in there, so there's the seat in front of you is always empty, so you can always put up your feet.
That's like, you know what
It's
I love?
super relajante.
You know what ride I love? I love the Tomorrowland Metro like mover thing.
Oh, that goes
I love
carrito.
that. I love it, carrito. I love it. When you're
I don't
tired,
think I've ever ridden it.
you have to have ridden it because I always go on it, and we've been to the Magic Kingdom a lot. When you're tired, te montas ahí y te da el fresco because it
Y
starts
ya.
moving. Yeah, it's great.
Descansas ahí un rato.
It's great. It's absolutely great. Quick question though:
God.
when you enter the Magic Kingdom,
I go to the right.
you knew that's what I was gonna ask.
I go to the right.
So do I. I go to Frontierland. Who enters
I go
through
to
the
the
left?
right.
Who goes to Tomorrowland first?
No, the right is Tomorrowland.
No. Oh, it is. It is. Oh, I go through Frontierland.
You go. You go through the opposite side.
I go to the left, unless when you go with me.
I mean, I usually I go with whoever. I don't care. But yeah, no. For me, it's you go. No, but you go to Tomorrowland first because that's where like Space Mountain is, que tiene la línea más larga. So you go in there to make.
Right, but you don't want to do that línea larga in prime time.
I guess it depends on what time you get in.
You go left.
I go right.
You go right. I go left. Well, there we go. It's a perfect.
If nothing better encapsulates our relationship.
But there are people that go center. That's why they end up on the Dumbo ride. No, if you go center, you end
you're in
up
Fantasyland. Yeah.
No, you end up in the carousel.
Bueno, sí, pero yeah, you're in
That's the
Fantasyland.
first thing you bump into,
Yeah.
where the sword in the stone is.
Those are just weird people. Those are probably people who don't have voices in their head.
Yeah. Another little Magic Kingdom little tidbit of mine.
Dale.
I've been going to the Magic Kingdom. The first time I went to the Magic Kingdom was in 1981.
Oh wow.
And since then, I have been about 4,000 times. Like, you know that voice in your head?
Conservatively.
That voice in your head we were talking about? That voice can take me on a tour of the entire Magic Kingdom, and I even know where the trash cans are.
You do.
I have never eaten at the Crystal Palace, and I think it's easier to eat at the freaking White House than it is to eat at the Crystal Palace. Mind you, that's an old restaurant at this point.
Yeah, because they haven't modernized it at all.
Well, no, but it's been around since the Magic Kingdom opened.
No, pero digo, it's not like it's in
You
the
know,
heyday. It's
right
la
now,
popularidad.
you know, to go to the Be Our Guest restaurant, forget it.
Oh no,
you know?
you might as well be turned into a beast.
Yes, forget it. But there, it's like, no. It's like, I remember the last time I went to the Magic Kingdom, they had no reservations. And I remember I went up to the girl in the front, and I'm like, oh, you know, like, when is it a good time to, like, reserve this? She's like, 3 months in advance. I'm like, 3 months in advance? To go to a mediocre buffet with characters? Like,
Coño. Para eso you go to Chef Mickey.
yeah.
I want to go back to Chef Mickey.
Bueno.
So, bueno, it's almost time for the last soda. And I say almost because I think that because it's our 100th episode,
Yes.
I would like to ask you, after 100 episodes, we're now entering our 3rd year. It's like picking your a favorite child, but you only have one, so you don't have that problem. What has been your like the most fun thing, your favorite thing, the thing that sticks out in your mind so far that we've been able to do or have fun with, or that you never thought like this would be like, just, because of this podcast?
Well, we've said this before. We've met amazing people, and we've met amazing people. We've met celebrities. Like, we interviewed today a celebrity. We won't get into it, but we interviewed today a celebrity that we grew up listening to. We interviewed Sonia Manzano, stuff like that, and those have been because of. Pero let me tell you, we interviewed Juan Pablo Di Pachi.
Right.
Which in turn led me to go to Full House, which is my childhood dream. Right. So I would say that, but honestly, when you said, so I would say that because
right. That's something
when
tangible.
I was when we were at the Full House set and I was sitting in the sofa while you saw my moment, I was like, I remember like being a child and watching the show and being obsessed with the show, and the show was like a safe place for me, like a safe moment, and I would have never in my wildest dreams thought that one day I was going to meet these people and I was going to be sitting in the Tanner household.
Right.
Like, what
Because that's the
hell?
Tanner household.
Like,
I mean, it's
what
even the same soundstage.
What the hell? Like,
Right.
like those are like those full circle moments you have in life that it's like, and I know it's just a TV show, but it was certainly a full circle moment. But when you asked me the question, you know what I actually thought about? I thought about Seth.
So did I.
I thought about Seth.
So did I.
Because, I want to say we've made friends.
And Marcela. I'm going to toss them both together.
We've made friends with such amazing people. We've become friends with the Mamas and Merlot that we freaking love them.
Yes.
Love them. And I consider them like friends. Like friends. And then, of course, there's
Darwin.
Martha Darby. Darwin Figueroa from Fresh or Fresh.
Yeah.
Darwin is one of the, like, just all around best people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like, he's so freaking awesome.
Yeah. Martha Darby, like you said.
Martha Darby,
I mean, that's family.
Que ahora es tía de nosotros.
I mean, she is.
But Seth, like, I freaking love Seth and Marcela. Like, I really do.
I
And
do.
I don't know. I do. Like, I've gotten the bastard.
tenemos
Yo he cogido cariño,
Yeah.
that damn bastard. Like,
that mother trucker.
yeah. Because what is it? He says he's the nicest
asshole you'll ever meet. And you know what? Can't be any truer words ever spoken.
But yeah, because it's the connections that you make with people, and as I said, we've been very lucky enough that we've considered, we've made some very good friendships with a lot of people.
I have friends from Creamy Creations. Que me cae la cara de vergüenza. I haven't been there in forever.
I know.
haven't passed
You,
by.
me. No, it's like, I feel that this is like an Academy Award speech moment that we're leaving somebody out.
and the one person that we leave out, we're gonna be like, damn it, I meant that.
But yeah, again, Seth and Marcela, they've been so good to us.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really like them. They are the type of people that when you hang out with them, you don't realize. I mean, we've only really known them for about 2 years.
Yeah.
But I feel I've known them for so much longer.
They're the definition of genuine human beings.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
For better or for worse, but they are genuine human beings, and I think anybody who's met them and who genuinely knows them would have to agree with us.
Yeah, and that's why they have Croquetapalooza and all these great events because their events kick ass.
Yes,
Kick
go to
ass.
all of them.
So yeah. So I guess if I ask you the question,
I would say Seth, yeah, because the more I look at it, just the trajectory of the podcast, he has been there for just so many of the pivotal moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've always said it. He's the one that I think him agreeing to even just be on the show gave our show legitimacy. It gave us credibility. He invited us to his events. We hosted the event. We've, he's just such an inclusive human being.
His car got towed from my house.
His car got towed from your house.
It happens. Towing, it happens.
But it's just, again, he is the definition of something that you and I have said many times, which is, you meet these people who are a fraction of the quote-unquote influencer level, or whatever. He's going to get a kick out of me calling it an influencer. Que se tiran el pelo más alto que el culo.
Oh, well, we've met a few.
And here is somebody who has all...
Contracts. That's all I have to say. Contracts.
Who has all the legitimacy, all of the,
who didn't make us sign a contract.
He didn't make us sign a contract. He has all of the right in the world to be at this echelon of being right? And he's not.
No, he's so
and
not.
that speaks to who he is in his heart.
And it hurts to both of them.
Who they are.
They're
Because
amazing.
honestly, he is Burger Beast, but when you say Burger Beast, it's Seth and Marcela.
Yeah, it's
Seth and Marcela is Burger Beast together.
Is a dynamic duo.
It's a dynamic duo. It's a duet.
Yeah.
It's Burger Beast, Pimpinela, same thing.
Yeah. Because Marcela during Croquetapalooza
Oh my
is
God,
like
any event.
I'm like, do you want like a Percocet? Or like
It's like, yeah, like, what can I do to help you? Like, you just look like you need help, and I am here. Like, let me take the load. So,
but yeah. But again, we've met amazing people, and and it's just interesting because not that we're old, but sometimes you get to a point in your life that you don't necessarily think not that you're not going to make friends, but
it becomes harder. It becomes harder to make friends,
right?
because,
But like for example,
because of life.
The same could be said, with Mamas and Merlot, Stephanie and David.
Yeah.
Like I freaking love them. Like I freaking love them. Like I want to hang out with them. Let's go to let's go rent at the weekend at the beach.
At the beach. Let's go like Marco Island. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's
I love all of them.
mamas. Yeah, Christy, Neri, Vanessa, everybody.
Yeah, and they're people that Again, it's not that I didn't expect that, in my late 30s to meet these people.
But life gets complicated and you don't have the time to meet people. But we said
this when we started the podcast. We never thought, and we've said this before, it just wasn't something we anticipated, that we were going to meet such nice people and we were going to make friends legitimately with these people.
Right.
And, and that's...
Here we are.
Here we are.
So, 100 down and 100 more to go.
So for our last sodas, I would like to give my last soda to you.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
Because, you were...
I've become so sentimental in my old age.
This was your idea. You were the one who came up with the name. And
I will always say otherwise, but that's
and okay. Without you, there'd just be me talking.
Sometimes in your head.
In my head,
in your head, right. The voice will be there, yeah.
Yeah, so because you really are the one who does, you really do everything. You from contacting people to coordinating to, as I tell you, you just need to tell me where I need to be on what date and at what time and what we're doing. And
just give you a brief.
Yes.
Brief you.
But, you put in 80% of the effort, so we wouldn't have gotten where we gotten without you, and people need to know that. So my soda, since we're gonna keep it on sodas, is for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm gonna get all mushy because it's fun. At the end of the day, there are days where I'm like pulling my hair out, and between this, I always say this is like the best full-time unpaid gig I have.
Yes. Not always unpaid.
Not always unpaid, but but it's not. But I have my full time. Like my 40 hours a week job, and this one is actually sometimes winds up being 70 hours.
Yes.
Entre una cosa y otra. But it's a lot of fun, and I as cheesy as it sounds, there's that old adage where it's like, if you do what you love, it
doesn't feel like
it doesn't feel like work, and it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. There are times where I'm like trying to coordinate 40 different things, but I get some weird sick enjoyment out of it. So there's that. So for my last soda, so I'm not gonna be cheesy and just give it back to you. I mean, you are deserving of it, but I'm actually going to give it. I'm going to broaden the circle a little bit, and I'm actually going to give it to everyone who has supported us on this journey.
Oh, yes.
From spouses and boyfriends and friends who have helped us sell T-shirts to, people who have helped us put up stickers all over the city and, reposted our stuff. It does take a village. And I know that we joke a lot when we say like, our friends, they listen to like the first 2 episodes and they don't listen anymore. Some of them still listen, some of them don't. But at the end of the day, when we've needed them to pull together, everybody has been all hands on deck.
Yes.
And so, I want to give that shout out, whether it's Juana in Milwaukee, Melissa in Atlanta.
Except for that one person who gave us a contract.
Right.
I'm never going to live that down.
Well, you shouldn't, because that becomes...
I wanted to own our intellectual property.
That's
my... That in itself is one of the highlights of our...
That's one of the highlights. That's one of my favorite
100
parts.
episodes.
That's one of my favorite parts. I got to say.
Yeah,
that's one
contract and intellectual property. Let me tell you. It's like...
And we weren't even a registered company at that point.
You do realize this is not the Academy Awards, right? Like,
you realize we record this literally in his son's playroom.
Yeah, so... But yes, it takes a village.
Yeah, it does take a village. And so, I want to give a very heartfelt thank you. Like, even our parents. Well, your parents for providing content.
Yes, my parents for providing content.
My dad actually, the guy who prints our T-shirts is one of my dad's clients.
Yes. Yes.
But also, your parents, when we go out and we take, everybody out for an event or whatever, like, they stay with Tristan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be able to come out to all these things a lot of times.
Yes.
And so, it sounds cheesy as hell, but it really, I value that more than people know.
Yes. It really does take a village, and we have a great village. And Juana Milwaukee.
They may not always understand what the hell this podcast thing is.
We talk about Juana Milwaukee a lot.
We do.
She's a dear friend of ours that lives in Milwaukee, and she's a Miami girl. So imagínate how she's doing.
This is her weekly dose of Miami. Just kind of comes through. It seeps into her pores. And I know that as she's listening to this right now, she's smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's probably saying, "You guys, stop talking about me.
Stop it." That's really how she talks. Stop it, you guys.
Stop talking about me. Oh my God, I'm getting so embarrassed.
Anyway, bueno. Let's let the people go. But everybody, again, thank you so much for 100 episodes. Again, this was our unofficial 100th episode. Oh, it was our 100th episode literally, but not the 100th episode extravaganza.
Right, it's not the celebration, but if you want to keep the celebration going, March 7th, March 8th, we're going to be at Miracle on the Mile on the corner. I know it sounds like we're prostitutes on the corner of Ponce and Miracle Mile, but
that would be classy.
We would be high class call girls, damn it. We're going to be right in front of where the Starbucks used to be. We're going to have our booth. Come by, say hi. We're going to have merch, but it's not about the merch. If you want to buy it, I'm not going to tell you no. But you know what? Come by. We'll have stickers. Actually, I think, let's go ahead and announce it. We're going to be doing a giveaway.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a T-shirt giveaway. We'll post about it on the page. But, we just like to see you guys. We like to meet you guys. Because without you guys, we would not be here.
Well, we'd just be talking with no audience.
Well, but I guarantee you that if we hadn't seen any traction to a degree, we wouldn't have been doing this for now going on 3 years.
2 years, yeah, going on.
We wouldn't have invested in T-shirts. We would
and fancy equipment
and stickers if we did not know there were people who actually enjoyed this.
Anyway, bueno, everybody, grab your... Well, I hope you listened, laughed, and learned.
Yes.
And grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your jupiña. And thank you for joining us in episode 100. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And we'll catch you next time.
Yep. See you, mi gente. Los quiero. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lamleplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.